Hello, AP Chem students, and welcome to topic 2.5, which is Lewis diagrams. The learning objective here is 2.5.a, represent a molecule with a Lewis diagram, so pretty straightforward. So let's talk about it. So Lewis diagram is just a model for bonding. The prediction of the structure of covalent bonds is best done by using something we call a Lewis diagram or a Lewis structure. When drawing Lewis structures, you want to keep in mind that almost all atoms follow the octet rule, which states that the most stable configuration calls for them to have 8 valence electrons. So if you remember, the valence shell is made up of the outermost s and p orbitals with however many electrons are occupy those two, okay, those two subshells, excuse me. And so because we can have 2 electrons in the s subshell and up to 6 electrons in the p subshell, that means that most atoms will have a full valence shell if they have 8 valence electrons. There is a notable exception to exceptions of hydrogen and helium. They follow the duet rule because the first energy level only holds 2 electrons. In Lewis structures, we represent valence electrons as dots that surround the nucleus of an element. So this is what your main group elements or your tall columns would look like as Lewis dot diagrams of just the element with just their valence electrons being represented. And you might have drawn these before, maybe in chemistry 1 or even in middle school sometimes. So here we see elements with full valence shells, which are your noble gases. And then we've got all these other main group elements that fall in between your alkali metals and your noble gases. And so you can see as we go across, we just add 1 valence electron. So this is just for elements. If we wanted to do a Lewis structure for a molecule, we're going to follow some steps here, okay? So we're going to start by counting the valence electrons in the molecule. It all comes back to that. So if we're going to work with CF4 here, move my head, we'll move it over there. Then from each carbon, we've got 4 valence electrons because it's in the 4th tall column. And then for each fluorine, and there's 4 fluorines, we've got 7. So then when we sum all of this, we've got 4 plus 28, which is 32. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the least electronegative element and we're going to put it in the center. And then we're going to arrange the outer atoms around it. So carbon's going to go in your middle, and then fluorine's going to go around it. So you can see we have the least electronegative element there, and then your fluorines go around it. And then the next thing we're going to do is connect all of these atoms with single bonds. So there's our single bonds. Now remember that we use 2 electrons per bond. So we've used 2, 4, 6, 8. So in our valence electron total over here, we've used 8 valence electrons, which means we have 24 left. We're going to use those 24 electrons to fill the octets of the outer atoms with lone pairs. So we're going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. And we're going to update our valence electron count, 24 minus 0. This is a little bit out of order over here, but that's okay. And then if we have any remaining valence electrons, they're going to go as lone pairs on the central atom. Now you can see in this case we do not. And it's going to be common that we're not going to have leftover valence electrons. Because as you can see right here, when we only have 4 bonds, if we had leftover valence electrons, that would give us an expanded octet on the central atom, which is possible. So your larger atoms, atoms that are in the 3rd row or higher than that, can take an expanded octet, and that's because those extra electrons can go into the d orbital, the d subshell, excuse me. We see that most often with things like xenon, which actually also is a little bit of an exception because it is a noble gas, but it will bind. We see it with some sulfur compounds. We see it with some of the larger halogens, like if bromine is a central atom, for example. So that can happen. Okay, and then you check for complete octets. And if any octet is incomplete, you convert lone pairs to bonding pairs to form multiple bonds. We don't need to do that in this case because all of our atoms have full octets. 2, 4, 6, 8 for fluorine, and then that repeats for all fluorines, and then your carbon has got 2, 4, 6, 8. So remember that the power of a bonding pair is that those electrons are shared between 2 atoms. And so then in thinking about having a fulfilled octet, both atoms kind of count, if you will, those electrons towards fulfilling their octet because their electron cloud is overlapping. And so the 2 atoms are sharing those electrons. All right, so this Lewis structure is good to go. So let's try another one. So in this case, we're going to go with nitrate ion, NO3 minus. And I chose this one to show you what we do with the charge. So we're going to sum our valence electrons again. So we've got 1 nitrogen, and there's 5 valence electrons from each nitrogen. We have 3 oxygens, and there's 6 from each oxygen, and then we've got a -1 charge. So a -1 charge, if you will remember, means that we have an extra electron. And so we add that extra electron to our tally here, and that's going to give us a total of 24. Now, in the event of having a positive charge, that means an electron was lost to form that ion, and so we would remove a valence electron from your total. Usually you're going to see it with negatives. Okay, so we're going to place the least electronegative element in the center, which is nitrogen, and then oxygens are going to surround it. We're going to connect everything with single bonds. So that's going to use 6 electrons. So we're left with 18. We're going to fill the octets of the outer atoms with lone pairs. And so that uses up 18, and there we go. Now, we're done with our electrons, but we need to check for complete octets. We'll go there. There, my face can go there. We have an incomplete octet on nitrogen. Our oxygens are good, 2, 4, 6, 8 for each oxygen, but nitrogen is incomplete. It's only got 6. So we need to do this conversion of a lone pair to a multiple bond. I'm just going to pick one. So we're going to pick this lone pair on this oxygen. And then it's going to, instead of being represented as a lone pair, it's going to be a multiple bond. Let me remind you, nature does this automatically. This is just our model to show what happens just as this nitride ion is formed. This happens automatically. Okay, so we're going to transfer that lone pair, and then this should go away. Hang on. There it's gone. And so then this is our final structure. So remember, this got a negative charge, right? So we show that by having the structure represented in brackets with the negative charge. Now, you might be asking yourself, why did I pick this oxygen and this nitrogen? There were 2 other oxygens available. Why didn't I pick one of those? And that, my friends, is in topic 2.6, which will be the next video. Also, I intentionally wanted to show you here that it doesn't matter what your orientation in space is for your oxygen atoms here. So I drew mine coming off the bottom. This one's coming off the top. It's irrelevant because this is turning and tumbling in space. So it doesn't matter what way you orient them around your central atom in terms of top, bottom, left, right, if you've got kind of this space where you're going to have nothing, okay? Does matter if you're filling in kind of a skeleton structure. You do have to pay attention to where other things are. But in this case, if you're drawing it from scratch, you can put it top, bottom, left, right. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so that is it for today's video on Lewis structures. What should you be able to do with this? You should be able to draw a Lewis structure, the Bézier octet rule given a formula for a compound. You should be able to evaluate a given Lewis structure to determine if it's valid. And you should be able to complete a partial Lewis structure, so that obeys the octet rule. And what we're going to look at next in section 2.6 is how we make decisions between 2 valid Lewis structures to choose the correct one. So that'll be coming up next, and I'll see you then.